We are going over the portfolio today. I posted the link to the Classkick in the chat pod. I'll do that again. We're going to use the Classkick to go through the portfolio because that is what we are using for this entire portfolio. I created the Classkick as a standalone item so that if you happen to never read a lesson, even though that's probably not the case, but if you never looked at a lesson, then you are still able to do the portfolio because everything you need is in this one link. The one thing that the reason I'm at this screen is that I wanted to emphasize how to log in. When you click on the link that's given, it's linked everywhere. This is what it looks like when it pops up. It already has the class code there, and you just have to type your name. Now, if you type your name the exact same way every single time, it will allow you to keep coming back. And so you don't have to do it all in one sitting. I need you to use the same name that's in Connexus. Let's just say Ashley. I'll give an example. This is, since that's my name, my graduating class only had 17 people in it, and 3 of us had the first name Ashley. 2 of us had the last name Ashley. If I would have just put Ashley on this paper, the teacher would have had zero idea which Ashley to give credit to. And the only thing I can link that to is the name on Connexus. So I know a lot of people go by nicknames. And while there is a section somewhere deep in Connexus where we can see nicknames, it's not in the grade book. So if you use a nickname, I cannot match it with the grade book. After you type your name in, you do not need to hit login or sign up. That's not needed. You just have to hit continue. And it's going to pick up where we left off. And you see, if you're in my live lesson today, I typed this here to show you that it does remember what you did as long as you type the same name in. So this is an explanatory essay that we are writing. The unit goes over the explanatory essay of what explanatory means. I'm not going to touch on stuff like that. I'm going to try to stick in this just to what the expectations are so that you can type or write your essay. So everything's going to be done in Classkick. You're not going to have to use an outside source to type this. You're going to do it all here. Just as a teacher's side, or just from a teacher standpoint, I'm able to look. Like right now, I could click and I can see what page and what everyone's typing. So I can see if stuff's copy and pasted in. I can see, if how you edit it. I can see all of that within Classkick, which is why we like to do it here, so that we can see the whole writing process. You'll hear me say it probably at least once a live lesson at some point, that writing is a process. We like to see the process. The first thing you're going to get to is the HyperDoc. Now, we used to only use a HyperDoc for this portfolio before we created the Classkick. So this is just kind of like a very condensed version of everything that you need, and very condensed compared to the HyperDoc. I'm not going to click on all of these things right now because they're built into the Classkick, and I'm going to click on them when we get there. But this is just another format with resources. The next thing we have linked here is the grading rubric. We use the exact same rubric that the ACAP uses to grade this standard on the ACAP. So what the expectations are for class are the same expectations for ACAP. You can see here that the highest you can get on any category is a 4. And so you are going to strive when you write your essay for the 4 categories. That way, if you fall short, you still have some way to go. If you strive for like a 1, well, then if you fail with a 1, then you get 0 points. I'm not sure I understand that question for each clue. I'm not sure what you mean by clue. And then there is an example of a sample essay, and this is one that's written in Google Docs, but it just kind of shows what an explanatory essay is. So and you can see that it's more than just like 1 or 2 sentences. It actually is set up with the correct amount of sentences per paragraph. Now, check my work. I'm not going to go over it right now because we will go over it on another slide. But that is here. I wanted it everywhere. We will not be able to grade these essays without you using Check My Work. Check My Work is a plagiarism and citation checker. So that is a requirement. We do require you to run it through there and check for plagiarism before you submit it. Now, once you run it through Check My Work, if it comes back and it says, oh, you have 40% similarities, well, you don't have to submit that. You go back and make that edit to remove a lot of those similarities or give credit to those things or cite those sources, and then you can submit it. Now, before we created the HyperDoc, we would just use this flyer to review the portfolio. So this is just once again another tool to show what is expected. We have the explanatory essay. It's 5 paragraphs. Each paragraph is 5 to 7 sentences each. So you should have a minimum of 25 sentences. You're going to have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. As you see, the body is going to be 3 paragraphs. Then you are going to publish. Now, the publish, this is going to be a little different because we're using Classkick. You don't have to do it in something else. Yeah, the Planet essay was just one to show you mainly the formatting. Now we go on to the next piece of page 1, which are your sample topics. You do not have to select one of these topics. These topics are just here. If you do not know what to write about, you can pick one of these. After you pick your topic, you will type right there in the box what your topic is. Now, I highly suggest that you do like 1 page of this, 1 page per day. There's 10 pages, so you have plenty of days left to do that. Like technically, if you're just doing school days, you have 4 days next week. And then, so you have 7 school days, 8 school days, counting the day it's due. So you will work on this, and like you could do, the last 2 pages can be done in 1 day because it's kind of the same thing. Page 2, thesis statements. In class today, we talked about thesis statements, so I'm not going to go over what a thesis statement is. If you get here and you just do not know, first of all, you can go back to the live lesson recording and watch it, or I have linked some additional resources. We have a writing thesis statement slide deck. And then I'm not going to click on this video because it will start playing, but there is a thesis statement video here that kind of like a Khan Academy type video where it teaches you about thesis statements. And then we have our steps to writing a thesis statement. I went over this in our live lesson this morning. You can read the steps here. And then there is also an example of a good thesis statement and a bad thesis statement. And these are on the same topic. So you can see how they took the poor thesis statement and improved it to make it into a good one. And then you'll get to the bottom, and after you've done that, all you're going to write on this is your thesis statement. So page 1 and page 2, done. Now we're to our introductory essay, our introductory paragraph. This is where your thesis statement is going to go. We talked this morning in our live lesson a good bit about hooks. If you need to go back to that the slide deck is linked on our recording page. There were a bunch of examples of hooks on there. So you're going to include your hook. Then you're going to give 2 or 3 sentences of background information, and then your thesis. Your hook is probably going to only be 1 or 2 sentences. Your thesis is only going to be usually 1 sentence, maybe 2. So that background information is going to fill in between that hook and that thesis so that you meet that 5 sentences. So then you'll type your hook, you'll type your background information, and then you'll type your thesis. And your thesis you can copy and paste from that first page. Now I am going to, these directions were on the first page, but I'm going to tell you, you cannot just highlight, and then right click in Classkick. There's no options that pop up. You have to use commands. So to copy and paste, you'll highlight, and then you'll hit Control C to copy. And then when you want to paste, you click where you want it to paste and you hit Control V, and then it pastes. Those directions are on the first page, and you can see they're in yellow right there. All right, so then after you have typed out your hook, typed out your background information, copy and pasted your thesis, you are going to copy and paste all of those here so you have one paragraph. Then you can use the checklist at the bottom to go through each one of these line items and make sure that you have your introductory paragraph written correctly. I included one of these on the bottom of every single page of every single part. So it's kind of like that checks and balances. So you can go back and make sure that you've not missed anything. Body paragraph. You're going to have 3 body paragraphs. Your body paragraph is going to start with a topic sentence. So a piece of that thesis, then you're going to provide evidence, and then you're going to analyze, and then you're going to conclude. And that's how you're going to get your 5 sentences. So there's a spot for each one of your body paragraphs to type that. And then you will use your checklist and go through each of these. Then we have our conclusion. And you have an example here of what a conclusion paragraph looks like, and then you have some steps. So you'll write your first line, which it says is to end where you started. So you're going to restate that thesis. Then you're going to give some key points that you mentioned in your essay to wrap it up. And then you write your concluding statement. And you can copy and paste all of that into your conclusion. Then once again, you have a checklist to make sure you have all of the pieces needed for your conclusion. Then we have a whole page of revision and editing. After you've got all of those pieces together, you can use these checklists to go back and revise and edit. If you used words that are not yours, you need to use in-text citations. Below are a bunch of examples of how to use those in-text citations to give credit to whoever it is, whoever's words that you use. If you used any citations, you have to create a works cited page. Now, there is a video here on how to do this, but I'm going to make this very easy for you. We're not expecting you to have to come up with this. This is where you can use AI. You can click on one of these AI tools, like this is the Create Citations. Most of the time, you're probably using a website. So you'll click on website, click on your link, and I always use this one. It's just one that I have saved. You'll search. Yes, that's the website that I used on the Jetstream. And it tells you if it's missing any information, but I don't know the publisher or sponsor. I'll just pretend that I just went and looked. It says it highly recommends that I fill in those yellow pieces. So I've done everything that I can do. And then I'm going to complete that citation. Now this is sponsored. So you either have to view the sponsored message or subscribe. You don't have to subscribe. I'm not going to watch the sponsored message right now, but I did off camera, and then I just was able to copy and paste the entire citation, and it's already done for you. So you don't even have to create it. You just have to follow the prompts. Then you're going to go back to every single one of those pages where your introductory, your body, your conclusion, and your works cited, and you're going to copy and paste those all to this one page. And then you can do a copy and paste the whole page all together. And then that's where you're going to get to your last page to check my work. Now I am going to play this video. Let me make sure my screen. Oh, I always do that. I hit the wrong button. Just 1 second. Okay, now let me see if I can hit the right button. This is just a short little video of how to use Check My Work. As I told you before, in order to have your page graded, you have to use Check My Work.
Hey, very quickly I'm going to show you how to submit your Check My Work. Basically, once you reach page 9 of your Class Kick assignment, that's after you've typed everything, you will highlight what you've written, and then you do have to use the commands Control C for copy and then Control V for paste, and I'll put that's in the directions also. So once you have everything highlighted, you just kind of double click everything and it should select it all. Then you will hit the command on your keyboard for Control C. Maybe you're able to right click. I was not, just for this example, but I was able to use it whenever I did the commands Control C. So once you have it copied, you're going to go back into Connexus, and that's just like where you regularly do your lessons. And on your student homepage, you're going to have a spot that says links. So you should see links, and when you click that, below it you'll see Check My Work. And so when you click Check My Work, it will open up and look something like this, and then you'll select your name in our class. So I'm just going to show you kind of the process for how it works. For example, you'll choose Language Arts B, select your name, put the title. You can put Unit 3, or you can actually put the title of your essay. And then instead of uploading the file, we're going to do Enter Text. And this is where you're going to want to press that command for Control V. And then there is my essay that is submitted. And this is just a sample essay. And then you'll click Check My Work. Oops, I did not select a name. I apologize. I'm just going to pick a random student. Okay. We'll put Unit 5. Alrighty. So, Check My Work. Sometimes it will take a minute. Alright, so it gives you the similarity report that you can look at. It's always a good idea to look at it, make sure there's nothing in there that has been flagged. But once you have done that, you can always make edits on your Class Kick as well, and then rerun another report if you'd like to. But basically, whenever you get ready to submit, you will hit Control C, see the command, or I can actually copy on this one. And then you're going to go back to your Class Kick, and then you can paste your link right there. And then we have access to it, and there's also a spot in your lessons where you can submit this link as well. All right, I just wanted to make sure you understood that, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
All right, so that is how the last page works. And then you will submit that link here, and then that is the same link that you're going to submit for your lesson. So that is the end of the Class Kick. If you have any questions, you can ask those. If not, you are free to go. I'm going to turn the recording off since that's the end of the Class Kick.